Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Origin community call for June 2026. We'll be live for probably a half hour today, going through some product updates and new ecosystem integrations. Let me bring Raphael and Peter up onto the stage, though, before we get started.
Hey
Raphael,
Ryan, how are you?
welcome in. How are you guys?
Doing good.
Great. So I'll kick things off. Here's the agenda for today. We're going to get started with a few announcements on new integrations and product updates. And then, as we do every call, I'll go through some OGN metrics. We'll cover buybacks, the staking rates, and some KPIs for OGN. And then I'll pass it over to Peter. We'll go through some ecosystem integrations. We have a couple big updates for wOUSD today. And then we're going to cover some of our larger Morpho markets as well. After that, we'll go over to product developments, talk a bit about wOUSD and the ARM. And then lastly, we will have Mintly on to talk a bit about their product, which they're building on top of Origin for. So stay tuned for that. Probably 20 minutes away before we speak to Mintly, but let's get into some of the announcements to kick things off. So probably the biggest thing from last week was the Pendle wrapped wOUSD market launch. This launched about a week ago. I think it's already the largest market for wOUSD right now in all of DeFi, so including liquidity pools, Morpho markets, and so on. Around $1 million in liquidity right now, but still very strong APYs. Peter's going to talk about this in just a little bit, so I won't share too many details and steal Pete's thunder, but he's going to talk about that. Some really good stablecoin yield opportunities right now on Pendle, and that'll be ongoing for the next few weeks. So more on that to come. A few other announcements here. OGN buybacks were quickly approaching 100 million OGN bought back. So total buyback so far is around 94.5 million OGN. And if you go to originprotocol.com/OGN, you can see these metrics live with some additional data. If you scroll back to about a year ago, we had maybe 10 million OGN bought back. And since we updated the buyback program, we've been accumulating a lot more OGN. And as you can see in May, we bought back almost 6 million OGN. So I'm looking at this data thinking we're probably going to hit 100 million OGN bought back within the next month. We're certainly pacing for that right now. And for those that have locked OGN, max locked XOGN staking APY is hovering right now between 14.5 to 15% APY, which is pretty strong considering that there's no new token emissions. All of these buyback funds are going to staking rewards for people who lock OGN as XOGN. If you want to explore more data on that, you can do so at app.originprotocol.com. That's where you can access all the products that we're going to talk about on today's call, as well as OGN. And then the last metric that we like to keep tabs on here is the percentage of OGN supply staked, which has been hovering right around 50%. So really high staking participation to earn these rewards from buybacks. So going back here, just a couple other announcements to shout out that we will talk a bit more about on today's call, but the ETH ARM actually hit a pretty big volume milestone last month of $100 million in volume. And this has been since February 2026. So it's really only been a few months since we achieved $100 million in trading volume. Really good stat there. And if you guys want to follow along with these product level metrics, you can do so at originprotocol.com/analytics. I believe you can also access it at analytics.originprotocol.com. So big milestone for the ETH ARM. And the staked ETH ARM, if you guys haven't been following along or you're new to Origin, has even more trading volume. I think in total, over $3 billion of trading volume. And since the vault has been public, it's processed over $2 billion of staked ETH trading volume. So seeing some really nice volume metrics here for the ETH ARM as well as the staked ETH ARM. And then lastly, the token holder update has been published. This is our monthly update that's published on Origin's blog. If you want to check that out, it's originprotocol.com/blog. We're going to cover a lot of the major updates today, but if you want to dive into any of those details, you can do so on our blog. So heading over, I think we're going to talk about ecosystem integrations first. So I'm going to hand it over to Pete to talk a bit about some new wOUSD markets and other yield opportunities.
Thanks, Ryan. I am sharing my screen. Nice, you just switched to it. So before getting into the wOUSD integrations and opportunities, I did want to touch on the Origin Morpho markets first. So right now I'm sorting by ETH derivatives and then also by the borrow rate. And so you can kind of see by looking at the market size here that really like most of the markets aren't really large enough to use its size until we get down to origins markets, which is this one right here that I'm highlighting, and then also down to this one. So really, they're the only two markets that are like borrowable at size right now, and they have by far like the best rate for borrowing at 0.34 on OETH and 0.28 on Super OETH, and that's coming from the borrow boosting function that we have enabled on these two markets. As a reminder, what that means is that all of the yield coming from the deposits of OETH and all of the yield coming from the deposits of Super OETH isn't going straight to the collateral depositors, but is instead being sent to the borrow side to essentially make borrowing, in this case USDC, cheaper. And a lot of the times we actually see this go negative, which is always cool to see, because in that case you would be profiting when you borrow. But right now we're pretty close to zero, so it's almost free to borrow from this market. And this is for borrowing any asset, not just a stablecoin. So it's kind of cool to see this.
So Peter, to get an idea of what we're looking at on that table, that's every single Morpho market across all chains that has ETH or an ETH derivative posted as collateral, and then you sorted by the borrow rate.
That's right. So yeah, this is all about 40 different versions of ETH collateral options, and then sorting by the borrow rate. So I mean, there's a lot of markets, but if you're looking for the cheapest place to borrow against ETH or an ETH derivative, that is Origin right now, and has been Origin for some time since we enabled Borrow Booster on this market. Some of the size that we're getting on our market is coming from the new curators that we onboarded. So ClearStar is, I guess I'll switch over to here so you can see it. ClearStar is a new curator that we had onboarded recently. I think they're a Switzerland-based company, and they curate something like 18 to 20 different vaults, I think, on Morpho. And they also curate in other places, I think like Spectra as well. But utilization on these two Borrow Booster enabled vaults is under the kink point right now, meaning that there is some space left to utilize these markets before it gets to be unfavorable with the borrow rate. But yeah, there is a bit of space there, which is nice to see. So you can still take advantage of this low rate with the available liquidity that's on there now. The other Origin Morpho markets are doing okay right now. Most of the rest of them you can use for looping strategies, leverage looping strategies. I think you would be profitable on all of them except this middle one being curated by Gauntlet. I think you'd about break even on this middle one. But I think the rest of them, with the current yields of the Origin products, that you would be making some money running a leverage loop strategy with the current rates. On to OUSD, or the OUSD side of things. Starting with Summer, there is a vote happening right now on the SummerFi governance platform to onboard OUSD as a yield strategy to the Lazy Summer HR USDC vault. And it is looking good so far, with all 10 delegates that voted voting for the proposal. I like to look at the timeline so you can see when those votes happened. But we're already way over quorum at this point. So once the vote ends in about 18 hours and is then executed on chain, then the SummerFi AI can start allocating USDC to OUSD, at least after Block Analytica provides their parameter recommendations. But we'll be listed alongside a couple different Sky vaults, but at the current yield of OUSD, I'm already above these yields that we're seeing here. So I imagine that the AI will shift funds into the OUSD strategy pretty quickly once that's live. So we can see, hopefully that happens this week, but sometimes these things take a little bit of time, so maybe more like next week. But stay tuned for that vote to be finished. It should happen tomorrow, my time, 5:20 a.m. But I'm in Central, so check from your location if you want to see when that's ending. And then there's Pendle. So this is the new wrapped OUSD market that went live a week or two ago with the maturity date of September 16th, or 198 days from today. So you can LP at 44 point, or sorry, it's gone down. It's gone down to 37 a bit, which I guess is probably from people LPing, but it was 44 this morning. But you get that yield by providing liquidity to this market so that others can take a bet on the PT or YT side. I suppose you could also take advantage of those sides yourself if you wanted. The PT acting like the zero coupon bond that earns a full yield at maturity, or the YT that earns all of the yield but becomes worthless at maturity. I think YT typically has less available liquidity, but as more people LP in this market, that should become easier to take advantage of for the YT side, at least when OUSD yields are good, which they have been lately. But so far we have seen this market increase, as you said, Ryan, from the initial seed deposit to where it is now at just under $1 million. We did add some incentives to this pool, I think 4 days ago, and efficiency for the incentives has been pretty good. So I imagine that we'll continue to incentivize this market over the next few weeks. And I think we might also be looking into incentivizing just the YT side as well, which will be interesting because previously you could not do that on Pendle, but that's a new thing that they recently added in the last few months. So we'll see how that works.
Yeah, so to recap here, the YT tokens and PT tokens are not currently incentivized, but if you provide liquidity to this Pendle pool, you can earn up to 37.9% APY. And we just started incentives last Thursday, so there is still time to provide liquidity on this market. I believe we will be matching incentives again this Thursday. So every week is epoch for Pendle, and that happens on Thursdays. So we're planning to route additional incentives to this market. It's not just going to be a 1 week thing. So you guys definitely still have an opportunity to provide liquidity to this pool. And from what I saw as well, Pendle is co-incentivizing with us. So that helps out as well, getting incentives from both sides. And then as Pete alluded to, we are exploring other incentives outside of the LP position on Pendle as well. Likely not for this week, but something that's coming up in the near future. So just wanted to call that out.
Sweet. Yeah, so take advantage of this LP APYs while you can before too many people deposit and that gets all eaten up. But at 37 right now, I mean, that's like 6 times the current OUSD yield or current OUSD APY. So it's a nice opportunity to earn some higher yields than you normally would by holding OUSD in your wallet. I've got one more thing here to share before I pass it off to Raphael, but this is a fun one. So IPOR Fusion is a vault protocol that's been live for a little while now, but we've been working on setting up this leverage vault for OUSD over the last few weeks. Unofficially announcing this one today. I think we'll do more of an official launch maybe later this week. But this is a new wrapped OUSD leverage loop vault that is now accepting deposits and is now public. Previously, this was a private vault, but it became public this morning. Maybe, I don't know if we can share this link somewhere, Ryan, because it's having some trouble showing up on the Fusion UI right now. But I don't know, maybe I can paste it in our chat here and maybe we can share it somewhere. But essentially what's going on with this vault is it's running really like a simple looping strategy, just 4 to 5 times over, or in other words, USDC that gets deposited into this vault will be used to mint OUSD, which is then wrapped into wrapped OUSD and then is lent as collateral on the wrapped OUSD USDC morpho market, which is then used to borrow the USDC from that market, which is then used to mint more OUSD, and then that process is repeated 4 to 5 times over. So with the current OUSD yield being over 6% right now, and the current bar rate from that morpho market being right around 3, this vault is able to achieve yields of almost 20%, which is pretty cool to see. We are also onboard a new curator for this market, which is Byzantine, which is a newer fund that manages, I think, something like 100 million in AUM at the moment. We are going to be updating the logo for this market soon, and are working on making sure that there's ample borrowable liquidity in the Morpho market to help fund the loops. But there is currently a deposit cap set on this market to just over $500,000. I think that's to help prevent too much stress on that Morpho market too fast. But anyway, check it out. It's a great way to increase the yields that you can earn on wOUSD without having to do a looping strategy manually, which is cool to see.
And if you guys want to check out the Fusion Vault, our producer Ziad just put up a QR code in the upper left-hand side, so you can scan that with your phone and it'll take you right to this Fusion Vault. But Peter, I know you're working with Byzantine Capital to provide liquidity on our Morpho market as well. Is that something that's happened, or is that in the works right now?
That's in the works. That's what's coming soon. So hopefully by later this week, when we do the official announcement for this vault, the liquidity from Byzantine will be supplied to that Morpho market. But that's also why I was mentioning this deposit cap right here, to help prevent too much deposits, which would bring too much stress on the looping strategy over on Morpho. But once they're ready and we can do the official announcement, then I think it should be no problem with accepting greater deposits than this 100K. But looping gets expensive pretty fast with how much liquidity gets used up on Morpho. So we want to make sure that that's ready to go when we, I guess, do the official announcement and when this vault gets pushed to the front end of Fusion.
Yeah, the integration has a nice double benefit too. If you want to go directly to Fusion and automatically loop your wOUSD yield, you can do that, but we're also getting liquidity on Morpho. So if you're more comfortable visiting Morpho directly and manually looping wOUSD on the wrapped wOUSD USDC market, you can do so, and we're growing the liquidity there directly with Byzantine Capital as well. So nice to see those options for users. Yeah,
it's a fun one that I'm excited to officially launch soon. But this is the unofficial announcement for it right now. But keep in mind, we are going to be changing that logo. So later this week, it'll look a little bit different. But the contract address should be the same. Nothing else is changing. If there's no other questions, I think I can probably release my screen.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, stay tuned for that announcement. It should be at some point this week. It'll be live on X, and we'll ping you guys on Discord as well if you're in our Discord community. But I'll pass it over to Raphael now to talk a bit about our ARM vaults, and then we're going to dive into wOUSD before bringing Mintley on.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I think let's talk a little bit about the EtherFi one. If you go to the next slide, I think the EtherFi one, it has been like an ARM that has been performing really well. So the last 30 days, it has been great. But what I think I want to probably bring attention to most of the people who are listening is that ARM is a vault that you should see in a long-term period instead of instant APY. So this is something that we are working on an article right now that we're going to publish very soon to show what is the difference between holding ARM in a period of 1 year or something like that, because then it really shows how much more yield you get, because there is times where the arbitrage opportunity is not really there, so the yield goes a little bit low, but you want to have liquidity there when the arb opportunity arrives. So this is kind of that type of a system where you just put your money and forget, and it does really well for you. And yeah, we achieved as Ryan said before, we achieved the milestone of $100 million with a short period of time. This has been great, and yeah, keeps getting new deposits there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I threw these APY ranges up too, which goes to your point that yield can be volatile, but on average around 4.9% APY, at least over the last month. But if you were in the ETH ARM for the last 30 days, there was a day that the ARM earned 31.7% APY, and the median APY is around 1.5%. But this number should be very reflective over the long term as well. If we're extrapolating out the staked ETH ARM data, if you guys were here at the beginning of the call while we were playing those videos, you saw the comparison of staked ETH yield versus the staked ETH ARM. And I think it's averaging around 4.5 to 5% over 365 days. So meaningfully more yield than you would get just holding an LSD or even LPing it on an AMM. So really cool to see these strong yields right now on both ARM vaults.
Exactly. So if we go to the next slide to talk a little bit about wOUSD, wOUSD yield also has been great as well. Go to the next slide, please. And yeah, like wOUSD, for those who are not familiar with it, is our stable coin that it's backed by USDC, and we deploy USDC cross-chain. So right now we have a Morpho vault on Ethereum, on Base, and Hyperliquid. So right now it's yielding really well, and you as a user, as an LP, you can just hold on Ethereum and you get the best yield across chain in one place only, right? And TVL has been growing week over week, and especially the Pendle integration turned out to be very successful. So there is more to that. In the next few weeks, as Ryan said, we're going to continually putting incentives there and more to see how it grows. Yeah.
All right, Raphael, thank you so much for those updates. We're going to bring Mintley on next as our special guest for today's community call. Daisy, how's it going? Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Ryan. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Amazing. Lovely to be here. Thank you so much for inviting us. Big fan of Origin. I've used you guys for a while, especially your ARM Vault. It's lovely to hear that the APY is over the 12-month period have been so high. Yeah, really excited that you guys are doing well.
Thank you. That's much appreciated. I want to dive into Mintley, though. If you can give an introduction to Mintley. I know you guys are building directly on top of Origin's products, so great fit for our community call. Don't want to steal any of your thunder, so I'll let you give an intro to Mintley.
Thank you. So Mintley, the best way to think of Mintley is it is a AI kind of curated product, purely focused on Origin's yield sources. So we're kind of abstracting away the complexity of on-chain and focusing on a reputable, reliable, strong yield sources that obviously Origin offers for both regular DeFi users and people like my mum who have no idea what DeFi is, but want to get some yield on their USDC, or if they want to crypto exposure, ETH. So we've created this agent framework that's fully self-custodial. It optimizes ETH and USD deposits across Origin's products to provide an average APY across the different products you guys offer. So for example, an ETH deposit could go 60% into the different ARM products and 40% into OETH. And then as the ARM APYs increase or decrease, then that automatically adjusts and changes the weightings across the different products to make sure that you're always creating a good kind of APY across the different products you guys offer. So really, we're kind of providing a hands-off Origin experience, acting as basically a distribution partner for Origin, in effect, right? So as you can see on this slide here, if you look on the right-hand side, there's a screenshot of strategy allocation. So this is live from this morning. So you can see there's a 25% allocation to OETH, and then we have 15% to the Lido ARM and 60% to the EtherFi ARM vaults. And then that will obviously change as the yields change across the protocol. So yeah, that's a nice little kind of, I guess, summary.
Thank you, Daisy. So I'm seeing that these three products here are all ETH denominated, the Origin Ether, Staked ETH ARM, ETH ARM. Is wOUSD a separate vault, or do you also allocate to wOUSD alongside ETH products?
Yes, so dollars is a separate vault. Yes, so we do both USD deposits and ETH deposits, and we allocate into the wOUSD vaults as well.
Awesome. So for the dollar denominated vault, is that only allocating to OUSD at the moment, or are there other strategies as well supported?
Just the OUSD at the moment. We are looking at adding some more complex strategies outside of the vanilla ones you have on your platform, like some of the strats that Peter was talking about. I love the Fusion by APY vault. Maybe we could do something like this and kind of use some of your products outside of, I guess, your core protocol, like utilizing Morpho and other things. We've only recently gone live, so like there's a lot of projects that have gone live too late because they've made the product too complicated and added too many features. So we just kind of wanted to get live. And as an ETH guy myself, like you guys have plenty of strats, vanilla strats on ETH. So that was my kind of focus. But yeah, as we get going, we want to be supporting dollars more through your ecosystem.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely get in touch with Peter about some of those OUSD opportunities. There's some really good yield opportunities right now that he's been working on. I know we're exploring other ARM vaults as well, potentially with stablecoins, so that could also be a fit.
Like, yeah, amazing. Like it's really easy for us to add origin strategies to Mentally. Like the agent is the same. It's just basically pointing to a different contract to add it and then changing the logic on the allocations. So yeah, as you guys add more stuff, we'll be adding more stuff, and hopefully as we grow, we can add some of the more complex stuff to kind of take it away from the user and make life a bit easy.
Yeah, that sounds great. So Daisy, I don't know where you want to take it from here. Maybe you can share your screen. We could go through a demo, or you could show off the UI, or if you had other points to talk through. We can go.
Yeah, I can show. Let me get my screen up. 1 second. Can we see this?
I think Ziad will need to bring the screen up on stream.
So it's quite a simple product. So there isn't actually that much to show, but this is our website. And if you go to launch the product, then this is in effect the UI. When you log in, I've already logged in, so I can't show it here. And to be honest, it'll take you to loads of like subscreens, but it's basically a Telegram login. So you would connect your wallet and you link up your Telegram account, and then you just give it permission to access your Telegram, and then you'll then come to this page, and then this is where you can deposit, and you can choose how much you want to deposit, ETH or dollars. And then what will happen is it will then distribute that into the different strategies over here. And then for a USDC deposit, you can see here, it just goes straight into OUSD. And then it's just kind of there running the background. And then if you wish to withdraw, you then have this option here, and it treats it all as one position. So you can't just withdraw just from OETH, for example. It's just one position where the agent will reallocate as needed and then withdraw for you as one big position. So it's super, super simple. The idea is that it, as I said, abstracts everything away for the user and just allows you to sit and forget with reliable yield, with reliable contracts on a reliable protocol, right?
Yeah, and I'm seeing that the blended APY is 3.83% right now, so pretty strong yields considering there's not incentives on the market. That's a sustainable APY. So really nice to see. I'm curious how often the agent actually rebalances the allocations between these different products.
So we've got it for daily, or rather it will assess it daily. It will depend on the how much the changes, like, and what the user's balance is. This is all on mainnet, obviously. So if there's no point doing lots of micro balance changes, right? It's just cost gas, and especially on low balances wouldn't make any sense. So the agent every 24 hours will check and see if there's been a meaningful change in the APY across the different products. And if that change is worth moving, based on your deposit size, you will it will readjust on your behalf. So yeah, nice and simple.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for the demo. And if you guys want to check it out for yourselves, it looks like that URL is app.mintly.so. That's right, Daisy, right?
Yep, that's right. So app.mintly.so. The product is live. We have not pushed it yet, but everything's working. It's fully not self-custodial, and we have no control over anything. You basically just give permission for the agent to allocate wallet funds to these different strategies. That is it. So we can't, it's fully self-custodial. We can't touch anything. And yeah, excited to see how we can support you guys and bring more TVL to your products. And yeah, thanks a lot for having me. Really appreciate the time.
Yeah, absolutely. We love seeing people build on top of Origin's products. So super cool you could be here and present the product. We'll definitely be following along with launch. And if you guys want to follow along as well with Mintly, your X handle is @GoMintly. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
All right, check them out @GoMintly. Daisy, thank you so much for being here. That's going to wrap up Origin's June community call. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you want any more details on any developments from last month, go over to our blog, originprotocol.com/blog, read our token holder update, and join our community on Discord. Ask us questions there. The team works in public. But until next time, we'll see you next month. Thank you, guys.